I'm Diane Emerson, and I'm with Garden Green, an effort to reduce the use of toxic pesticides on Vashon Island. And we're funded by the Groundwater Protection Committee, who's really trying to make sure that we don't get toxic pesticides into our sole source aquifer. And today we're going to talk about sheet mulching. It's a great way to eliminate weeds in your property without using chemicals of any type. And here we have an area clearly that needs some weeding. And we have a beautiful rhododendron surrounded by weeds. And what we're going to do is cut down the tall grasses, lay down cardboard, and put mulch over it. And so we'll get started here by first cutting down the grasses. Now we want to do this, the weeds and the grasses, really close to the ground so that they don't have a lot of energy to attempt to crawl out from underneath the cardboard. And this is a hedge trimmer. I find it works really well for this kind of work. But you could use a weed whacker or mower if you have grass that you're working with. And here we've got a little blackberry. We're not going to worry about digging that up. We're just going to cut it down. Looks better already, doesn't it? With these weeds, we'll come back in a hurry unless we sheet mulch it. Now, we're not going to sheet mulch right up to the stem of this tree, this shrub, because that's bad for it. And we're going to stay about 6 inches out with our cardboard and our mulch. So that means we need to carefully weed right around the trunk of the tree or shrub that you're sheet mulching near. So the next step in the process is getting our cardboard that we're going to lay down on top of the weeds. We typically get cardboard from the cardboard dumpsters scattered around town. Now my favorites are the one right here at Pandora Pet Supply, also behind Ace Service Center and the Ace Hardware Store, because they have nice, great big boxes with not much tape on them. That's important because we need to take the tape off the cardboard, because the tape doesn't decompose. And years from now, if you're digging in this area, you'll come up with tape if you don't take it off the cardboard. The thing to do with the tape is to let the cardboard sit outside for a few days to loosen the grip of the tape. It makes it so much easier to take off. If you're in a hurry, you can just wet the cardboard, let it sit for half an hour, and then take the tape off. This is probably the most time-consuming thing about sheet mulching. And if you decide that this is just too much for you, you can get rolls of heavy-duty paper that has no tape on it and no gaps. The nice thing about the cardboard is we instantly recycle this cardboard. It doesn't have to leave the island. We're putting it to use right away. So there's the tape, throw that away. Now we have a small cardboard box. I just wanted to show you how we have to take the tape off. Okay, we've got our cardboard, the tape's removed, and so now we can start laying out the cardboard over our freshly cut grass and weeds. So you'll notice there's already some cardboard and sheet mulching here. So I left the cardboard visible so that we can add the new cardboard underneath it so there are no gaps. That's one of the most important parts of this, is to do this without leaving any gaps, because the weeds will come right through those gaps. So here we've got this set up. There's a gap there we need to fill. We can do that with just a small piece of cardboard under there. Or if you have a paper bag in the grocery store, you could use that to seal those gaps. And I'd also like to point out to you, this is heavy-duty paper you can buy in big rolls that's organic, OMRI rated, that you could use instead If you have big areas, you can roll out these rolls of paper. It's quite tough. It comes in 3-foot and 2-foot lengths if you're interested in doing that. I've just been doing that at a client recently, and we'll see how well this does compared to the cardboard. And once we have this down, we'll go get our wood chip mulch. Here's another area right around this post that's going to need hand weeding because the cardboard won't take care of that. Okay, another gap to make sure we don't have. And that's good for our demonstration now. Okay, the next step is getting the wood chips to put on top of our cardboard. Here we have a pile of wood chips covered with a tarp. And it's important to use a tarp when you get a load of wood chips delivered for 2 reasons. One is the tarp keeps the wood chips from mixing in with, let's say, a gravel driveway or your lawn or any grassy area, so that when you get to the bottom of the pile, it's easy to get all the wood chips and not have them mixed in with your gravel driveway. The tarp also, if you get a nice big tarp like this, it also keeps the wood chips dry. And dry wood chips are a whole lot lighter to move than wet wood chips. So we can uncover this now. This particular batch of wood chips came from Green Tree Dozing. It's only $35 a cubic yard delivered. It's a very good price for getting these wood chips. You have several good tools for these wood chips. These wood chips are kind of stringy. A typical spade doesn't work well with them, but a garden fork does. Gets in there beautifully. So the garden fork is my preferred tool for a pile of wood chips like this until we get to the bottom. And then a flat shovel works really well to get the remainder off the bottom. And I'm just going to show you an interesting third tool you might consider. And that's the lid off of a plastic bin. We'll do this one first, and I'll bring my wheelbarrow over. I'll just show you how quickly you can load your wheelbarrow. This is a whole lot faster and easier than even the fork or other ways of doing it. So that's one way to load your wheelbarrow. I'll continue on with the fork so you can see that method, because I want to show you something about this too. Typically, you do this and dig and bring it up. But that's kind of hard on your back after a while. So here's another way you can do it. Get on your knees, choke up, and do it this way. It's faster, way less work, and your arms are really close to your body. So ergonomically, it's great. I can do this 5 hours a day and not hurt my back doing it this way. So for anyone who's not so really strong or has back problems, this is a pretty good way to do it. And then as I'm loading the wheelbarrow, there's one other thing I want to tell you about. And that's how to distribute your weight on your wheelbarrow. Now, these wood chips are pretty light, so it's not so much of an issue here. But if I was doing soil or sand or rock, it's really important that you put the bulk of the weight in your wheelbarrow right over the wheel. It'll make it so much easier for you to move that wheelbarrow. So there we go. We've got our load of chips and we're ready to go put it on the cardboard. Okay, here we are back at our our sheet mulch with the cardboard, and we've got our wood chips. Now, we've got several pieces of cardboard over here. If I were to just dump that whole wheelbarrow full of chips on top of it, we could shift that cardboard and create gaps where weeds could come through. So the first few handfuls you should do by hand instead of just dumping the wheelbarrow. This way, the cardboard stays in place. And once you've got some of this down, you can finish it off with dumping the wheelbarrow onto it. So this part's important too. We want to be sure we have 4 inches of wood chips over this cardboard. That's one of the things I've noticed myself doing when I'm spreading wood chips. I want to spread as much as I can with this load of wood chips. And I end up sometimes not putting it on deeply enough. And so I want to remind everybody that deep wood chips on top of the cardboard are really important, because after the cardboard disintegrates, it's this 4 inches of wood chips that are really going to keep the weeds out. So remember, wood chips are cheap, weeding's expensive. So I'm using wood chips in this sheet mulching, and that's because this is going to be total weed suppression. That's why I'm doing this. But you might want to use sheet mulching to convert an area of grass to a vegetable garden or a flower garden. If you're going to do that, you can lay down your cardboard over your grass, but don't use wood chips. Use compost as your mulch, because then you'll be able to plant right in it with nitrogen-loving vegetables and baby flowers, annual flowers, and not worry about it. You wait 6 months, and the cardboard by then will have pretty much decomposed. And then you can just scrape the mulch aside. In your case, you would be using the compost. And then you just plant right in there. You wouldn't use seeds, but you could use starts for either a flower garden or a vegetable garden. One of the reasons that these wood chips work so well at keeping weeds out, there's two things going on here. One is the weeds can't come up from the bottom because there's cardboard in the way. And if any seeds land on the wood chips, they're going to have a very hard time getting started, because these wood chips will suck up, when they're fresh like this, they'll suck up the nitrogen that those seeds need to sprout. So we've got lots of things happening here that help make this a really wonderful way to reduce the amount of weeding you need to do in your garden. And that's important for everybody. Well, that's good for now. We have more sheet mulching to do around the edges, but doesn't it look a whole lot happier now that those weeds are gone? And it's got this lovely mulch, which will help hold in the moisture, and as it decomposes, it'll improve the soil for this shrub. I'm a huge fan of sheet mulching. I've probably sheet mulched 2 or 3 acres by now. So I would just like to mention briefly the difference between mulch, compost, wood chips, straw. It's a little confusing. People throw around those terms. So in general, mulch is a generic term. There's all kinds of mulch. Wood chips is one kind of mulch. Compost is another kind of mulch. Leaves is another kind of mulch. Straw would be another mulch. Anything that you put down on top of your soil could be a mulch. And the wood chips are a particular kind of mulch. And wood chips come in different types. This is arborist wood chips that have been put in a really rough wood chips. So they may not look so wonderful. And by the way, if you don't like the looks of these, Go ahead and put down 3 inches of the rough wood chips and top it off with an inch of beauty bark that you buy from the store if you like that look better. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You just put the pretty stuff on the top.